Welcome back to On the Ball here on WLR. I'm Tomas McCarthy. Well, no Triple Crown and no Grand Slam for Ireland after a 24-12 loss to England in a one-sided Six Nations encounter at Twickenham. And to look back on yesterday's game, delighted to be joined on the line by Six Nations winner with Ireland, Niamh Briggs. And Niamh, after the bonus point win over Wales, things seem to be looking up for Ireland under Andy Farrell. What went so horribly wrong in Twickenham yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was just a case similar to 12 months ago. They just didn't really seem to show up, and considering how well they had played against Wales, not just in terms of their tries, but they had looked very physically up for the battle. It was like as if they had stayed on the bus yesterday, and I think that's probably the most disappointing aspect for them. I think rugby's a game of collisions, and if you can't get over that gain line, you're going to suffer for it. And Ireland just couldn't get the battle past them, and England were able to do it at ease. Yeah,
was that kind of lack of aggression the most concerning part of that first 40, Niamh? Like, Ireland were really on the back foot in defence and attack from an early stage.
Yeah, and it's surprising, because you'd imagine all week they'd have spoken about the last two times they played them, pre-World Cup and Six Nations, and all these players would have played against them and known what to expect. And I thought it was a bit strange. They didn't seem mentally in tune with each other. I thought their defensive structure was a little bit all over the shop, and England were very clinical and exploited that really well. And the first try, you're chasing then a little bit, and there was loads of time, and you felt like if they could just gather themselves under the posts and just like draw a line over that and go and attack them, but they didn't seem to do that. Now the second half seemed to be a bit better, but it shouldn't take a rollicking in the dressing room at half time from Andy Farrell or whoever to try and get them up for it.
Yeah, do you think the team as a whole were a little bit rattled, not just Johnny Sexton after that early try for George Ford?
Yeah, I do. I don't think, I think for that try in itself, they left a huge amount of space in the backfield, which isn't like them at all, because they usually defend with two back there, and it's obviously a miscommunication because there was no one back there with Jordan Larmour, and then we seemed to rush things and not try and play our way out of territory very well, and ultimately just couldn't get over any gain line, and it was it was horrible to watch it, to be honest. I thought it was a really poor game, and what's even probably more concerning, this wasn't a very, very good English side either, and it's probably the best they've played all right since their World Cup semi-final. But other than that, they'll be waking up this morning, and I'd say, and they'll be very disappointed.
Yeah, look, it felt very like the World Cup warm-up at the same venue last year, when Ireland lost by a record score. Like, does a defeat like this put Andy Farrell right back to square one, do you think?
I'm not sure they go back to square one. I just think that they have to, and I'm sure they will. Look, they're incredibly honest and hard-working, a bunch of players and management, and they'll sit together today in that review and work out where it went wrong. But the lack of a plan B was probably the most glaring thing, because we knew physically we couldn't really match them very early on, and we couldn't really go anywhere else with it. We didn't look to throw the ball around or anything like that, and we became slow and ponderous. And when you become slow and ponderous against a team like England, they absolutely lap that up. So, I think this Irish side play on tempo and intensity, and they just didn't have it yesterday for whatever reason, and that's just, the most disappointing thing.
Yeah, I think, like Shane Horgan said afterwards, like, that Ireland are still very static in attack, and that was kind of a common theme that came up during the World Cup. Is that something that Andy Farrell must address pretty urgently, Niamh?
Yeah, and you're looking for Mike Catt's input as quickly as possible, and we see little things over the first couple of games, but I think, it's like in any sport or in any like business or whatever, when you're under pressure, you kind of revert back to type, and they were under so much pressure. I think yesterday they just reverted back to what they know and how they'd played for so long, and you want this team to go out and play with freedom and express themselves. The likes of Andrew Conway, Jordan Larmour, they got very little ball yesterday, and when they did, it was going backwards as opposed to going forwards. And I think, England were really clever in that. They kept the ball away from them. They exposed Jacob Stockdale's defensive frailties, I think, a little bit, and really beat Ireland up in set piece. And when you have no platform to work off, be it Conor Murray or Johnny Sexton, you're always going to be under pressure and look like you're not having a very good game, because those positions are pivotal.
Yeah, it's certainly very difficult for the halfbacks, and like it's going to be a pretty painful video review for Johnny Sexton this week. Niamh, like, did that early mistake affect his kicking both out of hand and off the tee in the minutes that followed?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. He seems to be one of the most mentally strong players. I've obviously kicked with him before and chatted with him, and his resilience is unbelievable. And do you know what? Sometimes you just put a huge amount of pressure on yourself. You're captain. You really want to win. You want to right the wrongs of the previous time, and sometimes you just take too much on your shoulders. And I think it was a case of that yesterday. And obviously that mistake then rattled him maybe, and he's few two off the tee. I'd never seen him kick like that before. Two of them, maybe one, but to get two was surprising. And but it was like the previous game against England-France game. Owen Farrell dropped two balls straight out of his hands, which in one match, and I'd never seen him drop a ball before. So pressure can do different things to people, and when you try and take on too much of it and not probably spread it amongst the team, maybe maybe that was it, and maybe that's what rattled him.
Yeah, is Johnny Sexton almost too hard on himself at times? Niamh, and maybe needed someone just to have a word with him in his ear when they were under the sticks after that early try?
Yeah, and I'm sure they did. I think, you know what I mean, I'm sure they'll have said, listen, don't worry about it, it's real early, it's only 6 minutes into the game, we can reset this, and but it's easier said than done, and I understand, I used to play at that myself in terms of trying to do everything for everybody, and it's not like that, and you get found out very quickly.
Yeah, and you've played in these high stakes Six Nations and World Cup games. Did you have any kind of techniques to kind of put a mistake out of your head for the rest of the game?
Yeah, look, you try, and at the start of my career it was real difficult. You're obviously young and you want to be doing loads and try and write them as quickly as possible, but as you gain more experience, it's just, you literally just put it to the back of your mind and don't even think about it for the rest of the game. You just concentrate really on your next job, and I've no doubt, look, that'll have happened to him, but he, the first kick went so badly wrong for him. I think he tried to overcompensate for the second kick, which is something that happens quite often, and then he just didn't get another chance, unfortunately.
Absolutely, and like, after a performance like that, Niamh, are jerseys up for grabs again for Italy in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, 100%. They have to be. I think you've got to look for some sort of reaction, and I think these players have been afforded a huge amount of patience and time in terms of when they were questioned, they came up with really big plays and really big performances, and yesterday there has to be an action from it, and John Cooney did very well when he came in. Johnny plays, but then I thought the centre partnership, they're too like for like, so they can't create a huge amount. So yeah, look, it'll all depend on how they go about this game for Italy in terms of style and what they try and do. But it's an opportunity now for players like Keelan Darris to get himself in there and get some minutes and see how they go then, because they're still in the championship, and they've got to go to France and do well, and you want to go with players that are performing well.
Yeah, like Italy presents the ideal opportunity to freshen it up, Niamh. Like you mentioned Cooney and Doris there. Any other names that Farrell might throw into the mix for that game? Yeah,
look, I don't know. I'd say you'd like to see maybe Dave Kilcoyne get another start and see how he goes, because he's obviously had this huge amount of energy off the bench, but then yesterday he was kind of quiet. So and the Ty Farrell worked really hard. You'd like to think Keane Henderson would come back into it. And for me, I think you need someone like Keith Earls in that back three that's going to have that experience to be able to, understand situations and be able to help Jordan Larmour back there, as opposed to Stockdale and Conway, who are very good players but have, short amount of experience in international rugby.
And I suppose looking back to Saturday, Niamh, Wales and France probably served up the game of the weekend. It was a real thriller at the Millennium Stadium. Can this French team go all the way now and complete the Grand Slam?
Yeah, I do. I really think they can. I think that they have a bit of a hardened edge about them now that Sean Edwards has come onto their coaching ticket, and they look very organised in terms of their defensive structures, which wouldn't have been one of their fortes beforehand. And they look like they're playing with confidence. they're looking to play as effectively as, they have a huge mixture of bash and brawn up front, and the likes of Aldred and Olivia and Munden, unbelievable hands and feet by the likes of Intimac and Dupont. So they're only going to get stronger, I think, and for me, they have to be the favourites now heading into the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, and do you think in Roman Intimac that they have a world-class fly half under hands, Niamh?
Yeah, it's funny, he looks like he's almost horizontal when he plays. Doesn't look like anything phases him, and I think that's a really good mentality to have. He's still really young. I think, he's still learning all the time. Certainly started this tournament really, really well. He's got a really good relationship with Dupont, and I think that they complement each other. But, in France, the emphasis of their big players are always the 9s, whereas over the likes of Ireland, Scotland and Wales, the emphasis is on the 10. So maybe that style suits him, that, he doesn't have to control the game because it's all controlled through the 9. So yeah, look, he's had a brilliant start, and he's had another great game against Wales.
He certainly did, and I suppose a positive note for Ireland over the weekend, Niamh, was the performance of the under-20s. They won the Triple Crown on Friday night, defeating England, and second row Thomas Ahern from Ardmore dotted down 2 tries. Has he a bright future ahead of him?
Oh, he's massive, yeah, 100%. He's a phenomenal athlete and learning his trade. He went into that academy in Munster with coming from a fullback into a second row, complete change of positions, and his, the way he's learned over the last 2 seasons has been unbelievable, and he's, the real talisman for that squad. He's their go-to player. He's just so athletically big and strong, and he runs like, one step would probably be equivalent to 2 or 3 of a normal person. Literally a phenomenal running style, and while he looks quite narrow and skinny, he's actually very, very strong, and so he's had a brilliant tournament. And I know in the Munster Academy, I said on Saturday with Michelle that they're really excited, and they've been talking about him for a couple of years before he came in there. So it's brilliant for them and brilliant for him, obviously, and that 20 side are just they're playing some brilliant rugby, and I think it's really good to watch.
Absolutely, and just finally, Niamh, the Ireland women's team went down 27-0 yesterday. Was that always going to be an uphill task against a professional outfit like England?
Yeah, 100%. I think the golfing class was there for anyone to watch it, and England are just so much ahead in terms of their development and evolution as a squad, and they did things at pace yesterday which the Irish just aren't able to do. Their skills are so far superior in that sense, and to be fair to Ireland, they battled really, really hard. I think Ciara Griffin had an unbelievable game, and they defended really, really well. It's just it's just hard to belay that power that England have. Like, they're literally so strong, and so I think the girls will take a huge amount of positives from that. They've just got to try and keep closing the gap to the top 2 in France and England, and try to get themselves away from the bottom end of the table, and they have a big opportunity to do that now against Italy the next day out.
Well, Niamh, an absolute pleasure to chat to you today. Thanks a million for taking our call.
Thanks so much, myself.
WLR's On the Ball
with Malivan Honey. Fuel your sport with pure, real quality honey that you can trust. See Malivan.com.